Welcome to Massachusetts! Good morning, YouTube. Well, today I'm visiting Hancock Shaker Village. It's about this far into Massachusetts on Route 20. If you're coming Route 20 east and you're just into Massachusetts, you're coming down a big hill, slow down, because when you get near the bottom, there it is. There's no real warning sign. I went by it. But anyway, let's explore the village, shall we? All right, well, this is the laundry room, and as you can imagine, laundry day with 300 people plus children living here. Pretty much was like an industrial thing. They had a belt-driven washing machine in here in the 1930s. That's not here anymore, but as you can see, they had all this, the big kettle for heating the water in tubs, and hand washing machine. In the other room over here is where they did a lot of the ironing, big long ironing board, and this stove was set up so that they could have all these irons being heated. Well, the Shakers were early adopters of technology, and this table saw is from the 1860s. It was all belt driven off of water power or wind power. Same with the lathe, bandsaw.
Same thing here, remove the shoulder, that's what we'll get the other side.
So I'm in the big brick building that was the dormitory type style, however you want it, the living quarters. They call them settling rooms. The way they did it was their brothers were on the east side, sisters were on the west side. So this would have been a typical room for a sister's retiring room, sort of a dormitory kind of deal. On the brother's side, pretty much the same kind of thing. Only in this one, there's a series of chairs, and you notice they got the characteristic tilt back. Much more comfortable than a straight back, as anybody who's ever tried to sit in a straight back chair would know. Now, if you happen to fall ill, there are things like these adult-sized cradles where if you were sick, they could rock to be comforted, you know, or taken care of. But they were also known for their medicines and the distillation of herbs. As I mentioned, brothers are on the east side, sisters are on the west side, and they were a celibate sect. But unlike most, they actually had the men and women living in the same building, and they basically treated each other like brothers and sisters, and did not, you know, there was no intimacy. Actually, in the beginning, they tried to sort of discourage even really close friendships. But you're working together with a lot of people all the time. I'm sure you end up being friends on the way. But how do they grow? I mean, they started in the early 1700s. There's still actually 2 shakers up in Sabbath Lake, Maine. And how did they grow? Basically, when a family would join if they had children, the parents would join, but the children were taken care of by the community. They also had, they take in orphans and foundlings, people that they couldn't take care of their children for whatever reason. They might leave them on the doorstep, and if they did, this was a good place to come to. I had a butter churn like that. I have a butter churn like that at some point. How would you like to work in this kitchen? Nice wood or charcoal fired. You got your stone sink. Big one. You know, there's a couple times in my life I would have loved to have a mixing bowl like that with a spout. Down here, it's a food preservation room, and racks and racks and racks of canned vegetables and fruits and whatnot. Keeping it down here in the basement where it'd stay cool. And right off the kitchen, which is down there, you know, storage for food over here, and more food storage, liquids, barrels, and of whatnot. So they did split things into men's jobs, women's jobs. A lot of the women's jobs was the fabric, so this is a lot of flax, and would have run it through these combs to get the harder stuff off and leave just the fibers, which then would be spun into line. They also did, women were responsible for the dairy and the dairy products. So one of the most profitable businesses would have been, you know, the making of cheese. So up on the second floor of the sisters' workshop would have been where a lot of the weaving took place, and all these different sized looms. And so people that know me from way back will remember me making chairs and stools. This was the inspiration.
The chairs and where? And stools? Oh.
Yeah, I do videos as I go.
Oh, okay.
So this would have been their refrigerator, their cold storage, and that's because on the other part of the building over here is the ice house. So this would have been filled up with ice come through there, stacked up hay insulation in the walls, like that. And of course, through these ducts, the cold air would go into the rooms and keep all that stuff nice and cold. There's some tools used for ice harvest. This would be back and forth to basically saw through the ice and move it around with the pikes and pull it up out and bring it here, that room, and also this room. This is above those storage rooms, so this is actually where a lot of the cool air would sink down because cold flows down it. So if you come here, you go into the Discovery Barn and really try all kinds of things. See what it just like a shaker. You know, they got some chicks. Pretend you're milking. Well, one of the things that is always cool for me is the beehive. So one of the unique aspects of this particular village is the round stone barn. So I'm up in what would have been the hayloft. Here's an idea what it was like. Ventilation up the center. But I'm very efficient. Cows that will be around the outside. Each one of these, you can pull the pin out, move it. Cow will stick its head through, put it back in for milking, feeding in here. Like I said, and all the hay up through here, bringing it up through that door I just came through, and be able to fill this right up. So like I said, one of the cooler things here. So one of the things I like to see is that the shakers would embrace new technologies and what we call green technologies, and the village is no exception. They're keeping up that kind of tradition by being powered by a solar array. So I like that. There's a shot of the round barn behind me, and that's the end of my visit here to Hancock Shaker Village. There's so much more to see. All around me is medicinal herbs and with the garden. So if you get a chance, come visit. It's well worth it. See you later, YouTube.